For the first episode I'm reviewing involving Panda in dedication of We Bear Bears Month, it's gonna be on an episode where Panda can relate to someone who's in the same hobbies as him, but on the other hand, way too ahead of his league in order to take advantage of Panda at the same time. Panda is really disappointed with his brothers because they're not into the same hobbies as him, which means that they reject to going to Anime Con along with other ideals, while also refusing to watch the movies that Panda enjoys. It really makes sense that these three bears are completely different with each other, with Panda being interested into anime along with other hobbies that Grizz and Ice Bear aren't accustomed to. And this is where I can easily relate to Panda the most, because considering that he's mostly different compared to his brothers, the fact that he's interested into different hobbies, it is actually relatable to see him find a different friend who actually can get into the same stuff as he's in. So he goes to this app called Buddy Maker where he can find someone online to be friends with. And let me tell you, this is something that can happen in real life, and let's just say that if you're ever in Panda's shoes, sometimes everything cannot be planned out the way you thought. And this is where we get the introduction of Tom. And this episode, along with the show, was also ahead of time when it comes to gender swaps or human swaps. And why I say that is because this episode is similar to the Adventure Time episodes Fiona and Keg, where we see a gender swap between male and females. But in this, it's mostly a human swap. But I'm gonna get to that much later. For the majority of this episode, they spend their time as best friends by going to AnimeCon along with the other hobbies that they're into. But when they hang out with Grizz and Ice Bear, Panda's brothers, they're really creeped out from Panda's relationship with Tom. You know, considering of all the times that Panda had to be with Grizz and Ice Bear on wherever he goes, and the fact that he didn't like to go into any of the places that they went to, it's honestly a lot more interesting to actually see them being creeped out, but also missing out the brother the most. Granted, they're brothers and they mostly get along with some of the activities, but considering that this is something that Panda is going through, and the fact that he's mostly upset that his brothers won't be able to do any of the stuff that he's into, is actually a lot more relatable when you can really see the roles being reversed, with Grizz and Ice Bear being creeped out from the way Panda befriends Tom. And not only that, the episode becomes a lot more awkward and creepy when you can really see Tom wish that Panda was his roommate in the apartment that he's in. And let me just say that when Panda actually agreed with Tom thought that he was being serious. So, in the following morning, when Panda found out that he was sleeping in Tom's apartment after he woke up, tell me, it's honestly a lot more creepy to actually witness that Tom actually used a rental chunk by taking Panda's things along with Panda into his apartment, all the while Grizz and Ice Bear didn't take notice. And what makes this even more unbelievable is that this wasn't supposed to be funny. And I'm not being sarcastic, I'm being serious. They actually took this into a more creepy scenario instead of something that's supposed to be humorous. Since then, we've completely seen that Panda actually likes Tom a lot, and the fact that this reached to a point where it's starting to take it a little too far, to the point that he prefers sleeping with his brothers, it actually shows that Panda actually cares towards his brothers, but not in a way where he actually resents himself from being into a room with other people. And when Tom desperately wants Panda to stay with him because he doesn't have any friends and the fact that he has no brothers, it really shows that Tom isn't really the same as Panda. Other than the human counterparts, which I'm going to get to soon, Tom's voice actor isn't the same as Panda. So it really shows that Tom isn't 100% like Panda, even with the outfit that he's wearing with black and white stripes. For how creepy this episode is, they actually make the creepiness way more understandable. This episode is just like the burrito episode where Grizz is attracted to tinfoil that is covering the huge burrito. The only difference here is that this isn't really disgusting, and it's just mostly creepy, but in the way, well, Tom is actually remorseful for what he did. And just when Panda was about to save Tom from sudden death, we get the introduction of Griff and Isaac, voiced by the same actors voicing Grizz and Ice Bear, and the fact that they're the same except that they're humans. Let me just say that the idea of having Tom becoming friends with these two really shows a lot of irony, with the only difference is that they're human instead of animals. This show really knows how to be its own thing by taking inspiration from Adventure Time by doing a human counterpart difference other than a gender swap difference. I gotta say that I'm not a fan of gender counterparts, but I gotta say for what We Bare Bears did, it really actually does fit, considering that the Bears never fit in San Francisco that much. And that's my review on Panda's Friend. This episode isn't one of my favorites, but for what it has to offer, they really know how to handle Panda's development when he's pairing with a different type of character. And considering that Tom isn't Charlie in this, it actually makes this episode a lot more better since that we don't get to see Charlie making a huge mistake. And don't worry, I'm hopefully gonna be reaching into a Charlie episode in this month, don't worry. Just because I don't like him as other people do, doesn't mean I'm completely ignoring him. Even if you like Panda or not, you can't deny that he's still a good character when it comes to episodes like this, and he does have some limitations. And since that this month is mainly about the three bears that we all know and love, this month is going to be a whole roller coaster of opinions regarding to Panda's development with other characters. As of now, I'm giving this episode a 6.75 out of 10, and as for later Panda episodes, get ready for me to talk about his relationship with Lucy. Yes, I am going to be reviewing all 3 episodes centering around Panda's relationship with Lucy. Get used to this because I have a lot to discuss.
Let's get this started again. Me and my whole